The sky burned violet as dawn rolled over the razor-edged mountains of Khelaris IV, a planet of harsh sands, crystalline forests, and storms that could peel flesh from bone if one lingered too long. It was a world the Galactic Assembly had classified as a death world, inhospitable, lethal, yet rich with resources. Humans had only recently set foot here, attempting to build outposts and starports. Ethan Ward was among the first volunteers. Not because he liked danger, but because Khelaris IV offered something Earth did not: silence. After years as a decorated soldier, after seeing cities collapse under orbital bombardments, after losing his brother in a conflict no one won, Ethan needed distance, and Khelaris IV was very far away from everything. His job was simple: survey terrain for geothermal vents to power the colony. Nothing in his training had mentioned royal encounters. Beginning: a princess in the Crystal Forest. The Crystal Forest shimmered like frozen lightning. Spires of mineral and alien flora bowed under the rising sun. Ethan walked slowly through it, scanning readouts on his wrist display, his boots crunching the brittle ground. He paused when he felt the air shift, temperature dropping abruptly, the way it did before predators emerged. "Human," a voice called from the shimmering haze. Ethan pivoted. 10 meters away stood a figure in ceremonial armor fashioned from obsidian plates and metallic gold threads. She was tall, perhaps 7 feet, and her azure skin glowed faintly beneath the sun. 2 horns rose from her temples, tapering backward like obsidian blades, and her silver eyes watched him with guarded curiosity. Ethan lowered his scanner and bowed slightly. "I come in peace. I'm only charting this region for geothermal." She raised a hand, silencing him. "You speak our tongue well, off-worlder. Few bother to learn it." "I had a good teacher," he replied, voice steady though his heart thudded with instinctive caution. Her gaze lingered on him, longer than required. "I am Princess Kiri of House Valor, heir to the Storm Crown, guardian of the Crystal Expanse." Ethan nodded. "Ethan Ward, human surveyor." Her lips twitched. So formal for a wanderer. "I try to show respect," he answered. "Especially when armed royalty approaches me from nowhere." Kiri's shoulders shook, somewhere between a suppressed laugh and a sigh. "You are the 4th human I've seen in 5 months, Ethan Ward. The others fled when I approached. They used the word monster." Ethan looked at her, not at the horns, not at the fangs barely visible when she spoke, but at her eyes. They held centuries of discipline and something else, loneliness sharpened into steel. "You don't frighten me," he said simply. The forest wind whistled through crystal branches. Kiri blinked once, as if surprised. "Come," she said, turning away. "There is something I must show you." Ethan hesitated, yet curiosity tugged at him harder than caution, so he followed the alien princess deeper into the glowing forest where paths of shattered gems gleamed underfoot. Middle, trust earned in blood. They traveled for hours. Kiri moved with the grace of someone who had mastered every inch of her land. Ethan's pace remained steady, though his breathing grew heavy in the dense atmosphere. "We stand on sacred ground," Kiri said as they approached a glistening cavern entrance. "Only heirs of valor enter here." "Then why bring me?" Her eyes reflected something raw. Because humans break the rules of the stars. You make allies of strangers, or enemies. I need to know which you are. Inside, the cavern opened into a vast chamber filled with luminescent pools, hot springs that bubbled with geothermal power. The ceiling glittered with quartz veins. Ethan scanned one pool and whistled softly. Temperatures stable. Mineral composition compatible with energy conversion. Princess, this could power half the colony. And in return? In return, we build a joint facility. Shared access. Shared research. Shared future. Kiri stared at him as if he had spoken a forbidden incantation. You would share power with us? Not seize it. Ethan shrugged. My people have taken enough from others. We're trying something different. Kiri opened her mouth, but the cavern trembled violently before she could answer. A deep roar echoed through the tunnels. Ethan grabbed her arm. What was? Beresthul, she whispered. A burrow beast awakened by our steps. The creature burst from the cavern wall, an armored mass of chitin and bone, six-limbed and ravenous. It lunged toward Ethan, jaws lined with crystalline teeth. Kiri moved first. Her blade flashed with blue plasma, striking the beast's side, but its armored hide deflected most of the blow. It swung a massive claw, catching her off balance and sending her skidding across the cavern floor. Ethan didn't think, he acted. He grabbed a shard of razor crystal from the ground and leapt, ramming the jagged edge into the beast's exposed throat. The shard tore through chitin with a wet crack. The beast howled, thrashing violently, tossing Ethan like a rag doll into a mineral pillar. Pain shot across his ribs. Kiri recovered, leaping atop the creature. This time her blade pierced its eye. The beast convulsed, then collapsed with a final shudder. Silence flooded the cavern, except for Ethan's ragged breathing. Kiri hurried to him. You are wounded. Just bruised, Ethan gasped, though his ribs felt broken. She tore a strip of her cloak and pressed it gently to a bleeding gash on his shoulder. Her hands were surprisingly warm. You saved me, she whispered. You saved me first, he replied. For a long moment, neither spoke. Kiri's fingers trembled against his skin, not with fear, but with something fragile. I misjudged you, she said. You are not like the others. Ethan met her gaze. Neither are you. Her breath caught, just barely. Middle continued. A question not spoken. Over the next weeks, Ethan returned to the crystal expanse regularly. Sometimes to map geothermal vents, sometimes to discuss construction plans, and sometimes, if he was honest, for reasons he could not name. Kiri accompanied him often, teaching him the rhythms of her world, how crystal storms brewed along the horizon, how the giant avians sang their warning songs before dusk, how the ground vibrated before dormant beasts awakened. They argued about politics. They laughed at mistranslated idioms. They shared food rations, though Ethan found her species' fermented spike grubs nearly inedible. Kiri had laughed until she cried when he spat one out with such disgust he stumbled backward. Yet beneath their banter lingered an unspoken tension, a gravity between them Ethan tried to ignore. One evening beneath a prism-lit sunset, while he calibrated seismic scanners, Kiri sat beside him, her horns catching the fading light. You keep distance, she murmured. Even as you return again and again. I'm here, aren't I? He replied. Your body, yes. Your heart. She looked away. That remains far. Ethan swallowed. The desert wind tasted of minerals and regret. Kiri. I've seen what happens when humans and aliens get too close. War. Mistrust. Loss. I'm tired of losing people. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And I'm tired of being feared. She stood, stepping closer, her silhouette framed by burning light. Her eyes shone with vulnerability Ethan had never seen. Why don't you embrace me, human? Kiri asked softly. Her voice cracked. Barely, but enough. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the impossible distance between them, to answer the quiet plea in her eyes. But memory hit him like shrapnel, his brother's final message, the ships falling from the sky, the realization that he had loved and lost too many times. He stepped back. Kiri's face fell, not with fury or offense, but with sadness so deep it hollowed the air between them. I see, she whispered, turning away. I am a deathworld princess. You fear my world. Or perhaps you fear yourself. Before he could speak, she walked into the crystallized dusk, leaving Ethan alone with the ache of words unsaid. Ending. Stormcrown and Emberheart. 3 days passed without Kiri. The geothermal project neared approval. The humans were ready to send engineers. Yet Ethan's thoughts drifted constantly to the empty paths of the crystal expanse. Then came the distress signal. Her signal. He sprinted through razor sands and storm winds thick with glass. Lightning split the sky as he entered the forest, breathing hard, ribs still tender. The wind howled with the strength of a hurricane, and shards of crystal rained like lethal hail. Kiri stood at the forest's heart, fending off 3 raiders from the rival house Shirak, traitors seeking to seize the geothermal site and provoke conflict with humans. She fought fiercely, but exhaustion weighed on her movements. Her blade flickered, nearly spent of power. Ethan didn't hesitate. He charged, swinging a reinforced survey rod like a staff, striking one raider across the skull, then ducking beneath a plasma blade. Pain seared his arm, but he pressed on, fueled by something beyond duty. Together, they fought as if choreographed by instinct, Ethan's blunt force strikes complementing Kiri's lethal precision. When the last raider fell, the storm screeched overhead. Kiri dropped to one knee, trembling. You came, she breathed. Ethan gripped her shoulders, forcing her to meet his gaze. I was a coward, he said. I kept my distance because I was afraid of losing someone again, afraid of what I felt. But I realized something when you walked away. Her silver eyes widened slightly. I would rather risk heartbreak than live with regret. And I regret every moment I made you feel unwanted. Kiri's breath hitched. Ethan slowly opened his arms. Not commanding, not claiming, but offering. For a heartbeat, she did not move. Then her composure crumbled. Kiri stepped into him, carefully, reverently, resting her forehead against his. Her arms wrapped around him with surprising gentleness, as though she feared he might vanish if held too tightly. Her voice shook. I asked why you didn't embrace me, human, she whispered. I never realized I was also asking whether I was worthy of being embraced. Ethan held her closer. You are, Kiri. You always were. The storm calmed as if the planet itself exhaled. In that quiet moment, among shattered crystals and flickering light, a human and an alien princess embraced, not as conqueror and subject, not as diplomat and royalty, but as two souls who had finally found the courage to step past fear. Epilogue. A shared future. The geothermal facility was built months later, jointly operated, jointly defended. Humans and Valari worked side by side, sharing knowledge rather than claiming dominion. Some still whispered that a princess should not be seen so often with a human surveyor. Others whispered that a human should not hold the gaze of royalty so boldly. Ethan ignored them. Kiri ignored them even harder. One evening, beneath the violet dusk of Khelaris IV, Kiri stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing forest. Ethan joined her quietly. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Do you regret stepping closer? Not once, he said. Her tail, usually curled in readiness, relaxed around his leg in a gesture of trust. Then stay, she whispered. I will, he answered and meant it. The wind carried her soft reply across the crystalline trees. Then embrace me again, human. And he did, without hesitation this time. For on a death world built on storms and survival, two hearts had finally chosen something stronger than fear. They chose each other.